Hey, Michael, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, Lacey. It's awesome. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no, happy to have you. I want to ask because I think it's interesting what you did in the Army. Your thoughts on, in your position, was there anything that surprised you about financial readiness with new recruits, like on day one when they came in?
Right. The Army gave me a tremendous opportunity to lead soldiers, to get different perspectives on things. Late in my career, I really kind of came full circle, being in charge of putting everybody in the Army as a recruiting brigade commander. And so we had to do about 18,000 soldiers coming in. And I was really surprised at kind of the way that we onboarded soldiers and then really prepared them for their future in the Army. And which kind of got me thinking, hey, I really want to do something because we can fix it. And as I was transitioning out of the Army, that hence the empowering of service members for their financial freedom.
Was there like a top negative and a positive that you
Right.
saw with young service members, like that they were doing right with their money, and maybe something that I hate to say always wrong because it's just like sometimes you just don't know.
Right.
It's also age related. I feel like very much. So is there like the peak in the pit that you were seeing with
Right.
service members and their money?
So I think that we do a great job of bringing service members into our culture and indoctrinating them, getting them with a squad or a team and making sure that they fit into our culture, whether that's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, the warrior ethos. But we do a terrible job of preparing them for life and specifically on financial matters. The very first thing we do for young soldiers is we give them a military star card at a 15% rate, and then we move them across the country to their first duty station. Well, what does every young man or woman have to do when they move across? They need new things, right? And they immediately have a star card. So we immediately put them in debt. We immediately set them off on the back foot. And we haven't taught them anything about how to invest your money or things that they should do. And so the disheartening part about that is if you come in with somebody that is aware of financial matters and understands your first team leader, your first squad leader, then you might be set up for success. But institutionally, we did a terrible job of setting that person up for success kind of from day one.
But just to be clear, they're not given a star card. They have to apply for that. Like not because not every young service member gets a star card, but I mean it is out there and
Right.
easily accessible and advertised at every gas station.
Right. And, that's kind of what they know. It's in every AFES, shopping service where young service members are going. And so it's a little challenging to build out of a hole once they start at such a young age.
Oh
And that
yeah.
kind of goes a perpetual cycle of, oh, I need to get another credit card to put this credit card and to do this, and they're starting from a losing proposition.
What's something that you think young service members should know about money when they, are starting out that can help set them up for success throughout their, whether it's 4 years that they're going to serve or 20 years that they're going to serve?
Right.
What's something that would be a good foundation for them to have?
Right. So, money as an enabler, money as a resource for you to achieve your dreams. And I say that because money is generally a vehicle we use, but if you look at it as an enabler, hey, how am I going to do the things that I want to do in life? How can I achieve, whether that's going to school or starting a business when I get out or traveling the world? It, I use money as an enabler. And if you start looking at your money not as a I'm going to live hand to mouth every month just because, but really figure out how to make your money work for you. I always like to say it's an old Stephen Covey quote: "Begin with the end in mind." We don't let our service members visualize what that looks like to be financially free, how that can impact their life if they have the means to do the things they want. We know they're amazing people that can do hard things, and they volunteered, and they're all great Americans. Let's give them the right tools for them to achieve their dreams post-military or even while they're in the military.
Throughout your leadership in the Army, did your perspective on finances change as your leadership level went up? And if so, like what's some examples?
Right. So, I, probably like everyone else, I'm a career infantry officer, and was fortunate enough to have some great jobs. One of the jobs was I was a garrison commander of Camp Humphreys. And so I was responsible for transitioning all the service members out of the military as well, out of the Army. And so I got to see how we did that on the backside with people transitioning out. And then we finally started paying attention to their finances. And here is, your choices for life insurance, and we'll set you up with a job, and you'll go to a counselor, and you'll talk about, and we'll build you a budget. And these were the things we were doing at the end of their service, right? At the very end of their service. And then we were saying, okay, and good luck. And then I got an opportunity to command a recruiting brigade, and so I got to see the beginning. And so I really saw both spectrums, because I lived the middle for 30 years, the day in, the day out, what my soldiers were doing, what they weren't doing. And so I really had a firm grasp of the middle. But then at the very end of my career, I saw the beginning and the end, and I was like, whoa. At the beginning, we are doing nothing. In the middle, if they land in a good squad, in a good unit, they might be helped out. They might have fellow soldiers that are very financially savvy that help them out. But there is certainly no guardrails put in place in the middle to make you successful. If you're going to be successful, you're doing it on your own. And then at the end, we're finally given a few tools, and it's too late. It's too late because the runway is, now you're going out in the real world, and if you don't have the financial means to do it, you're struggling. So definitely changed my perspective towards the end of my career of how we could do so much better for our service members.
You mentioned there, working in recruiting to, both ends of the life cycle of service. Well, how did that look at a bigger level? Like commanding Camp Humphreys, like there's all ranks, there's all ages. Was there any themes that were common with personal finance that you were seeing on the bigger scale, on the macro?
Right. So the initial thing is people would never talk about finances. And then when they finally did, they had a million questions. And those could have been easily answered up front. They could have easily been answered in workshops, or they could easily have been answered kind of up front, because the one resource we can't give you back is time. And so if they know up front, here's all the things you could be doing to help you out moving forward. And that's, quite frankly, that's why I love what I'm doing with the team that I'm doing it with. Because we're trying to put the right tools in service members' hands kind of from day one to teach them at the very beginning. And I think, if as you looked over, that was common between general officers and colonels and sergeant majors and sergeants and specialists and privates, really no different. And your financial readiness, your financial freedom is, not rank dependent. Now, if you make more rank, you tend to have a bigger paycheck, but that doesn't mean you don't spend it all as well, the same way everyone else does.
Yes, I like to say it doesn't matter your rank; you're not immune to financial problems.
Right.
It's just the way that you're making decisions and managing things. I want to know, what do you think financial success means, as it relates to the connection between readiness and retention. If that's a young service member, if that's somebody that's at the 19-year mark, how can that impact people being ready to go, but also wanting to keep people in the military?
Right. So, I'd always like to say that regardless of the circumstances in life, people want one thing and one thing only, and that's options. Financial freedom provides you options. The lack of financial freedom vastly limits your options and makes your decision making very, very difficult. Financial freedom is one tool, but it is a large tool that you can do a lot with. If you have financial freedom, then the decisions you're making and the options that are available to you are opened up tenfold versus I have to make money tomorrow, I got to move to this job even though I don't even want to do this job, or I must re-enlist or I mustn't re-enlist, I got to go back. And so the options that financial freedom provide you, one, give you perspective, and two, give you clarity. Because as a young second lieutenant, I remember thinking, boy, I might have to get a second job if I want to live in this apartment or if I want to, buy this car or something. And, that was in the 90s. And so I was like, if it happens to officers, if it happens to people that, oh boy, we look up to our role models, it happens to everybody. And I think providing them options, giving them financial freedom is a huge tool in their toolkit for them to make better decisions.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Was there something that you found like most surprising? Maybe like a funny money mistake a young service member or fellow service member
Right.
make with money that might actually be a teachable moment? Maybe it was then or could be now.
Yeah. The challenge with a funny money story is money's a serious thing, right? Like money is to everyone, money is a super serious thing. I would say that kind of one of the disheartening things coming out the backside is people having no understanding of what their money has been doing for them and where it's even at, I wouldn't call this funny. I would call it a little sad. But I asked a fellow retiree as he was transitioning out. I said, "Hey, what type of insurance are you looking at?" And he said, "Oh, I'm just getting the VGLI." And I sat down. I said, "Okay, well, that's an option, but you realize that there's other options out there, and that you're the master of your own destiny as you transition out. And so you don't have to do what the Army is telling you to do. You're going to be paying about 3 times as much for about half the insurance because you're in great shape. You've never, smoked or drank or any of those things." And he said, "I never even thought about that." And so I think we become so conditioned to being told everything to do. They're just telling us what they're to do with our money. Same person, which is sad thing is I said, "Hey, what do you have in your TSP, and are you going to roll it over, and how are you going to change that, or what are you going to do with the TSP?" And he said, "I don't even know how much money I have in my TSP." It's like they're almost oblivious to money because they're so either concentrated on the mission or focused on other things, taking care of their people. And I was like, boy, if you only knew how important this was in the next chapter, if you only knew how important it was, if you could have educated your service members to give them the tools that they needed to be successful in their next chapter. So,
Yeah, that's a bummer. I always ask to people like, did you go to your TAPS? Like really,
right,
like truly go. Because I mean, somebody that's teaches a lot of financial classes and has
yeah,
peers that do that. It's like a lot of this stuff is actually covered. And so it's like you may
yeah,
have gone to, maybe not have paid attention, but that is a bummer because there are other options. But also, why aren't I mean? Most good financial coaches, planners are going to tell you like you should actually be getting term insurance before you turn 40.
right,
So you
right,
should, before you even leave the military, you should have already been. You shouldn't. So VGLI wouldn't be probably on something a lot of people would be interested in if they were
right,
actually doing it probably in the right time frame.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
it's funny you mentioned TAP, because I went through the whole thing. The challenge with TAP is kind of the challenge with the is I was sitting next to, as a 30-year colonel, sitting next to a great American that was 22 years old. He was a specialist. And where I was at in my life and in my financial life and everything else was in a totally different spot,
Yeah.
than that person was in. And that's why we believe that you should own your own journey, whether that's in the military, whether that's, through your finances, which we're certainly can help with. But it's an individual journey, which is a very difficult concept in the military because we're all about the team in the military. But
Yes.
but
Yes.
finances are certainly an individual thing.
Yes. If you could go back and like anything you would do different as a young second lieutenant, when you joined the military, what would it
Right.
be?
Way more investing. The stock market was a foreign thing to me. I'm old, so if I put money into Google or, back then Yahoo, that type of thing, I didn't have perspective on it. I didn't have, it was take your money and okay, it was the old, hey, this much is for the house, this much is for the car, this much is, so I had like my own personal kind of funding pool of where I could, and then put this much in savings. And so I was very old school. Hey, you get a check. I don't know. I think a second lieutenant made like $2,500 a month or something. It was not a lot of money. But it's like, okay, if I have 2,500, I can do 30% for my rent, and I can do 15% for, I don't know, miscellaneous. But I had kind of the budget broken down. But that was really it, very basic. And then I'm keeping 10% every month, 10%. And then you look up and you got, well, I've had the same savings account and it's growing. Don't get me wrong, it's a good savings account. But I'm like, your money's got to be able to do a lot more than this. There has to be more things out there. And, I didn't really realize how wide that aperture was until I was probably 29, 30 years old, something like that. Whereas if I would have known up front, I would have had a 7, 8 year head start on that. Same thing I
Yeah.
tell my kids. I said, if you're in investing right now from 18 to 27, that's just the same as investing from like 27 to 65 or something. The time value of money and how it compounds and everything else that I'm sure you know way more about than I do. But yeah, it's powerful.
Yes. No, that's a good one. Well, I want to switch gears and ask you a
Okay.
couple of quick random questions I ask
Okay.
everybody.
Okay.
First off, what is one resource or tool that you use that makes your life easier or your work?
So I'm a big believer. Even though I'm a little advanced age, I'm a big believer in leveraging the tools that are emerging. So I'm a big AI tech believer that we can do so many things more efficient, easier, better understanding. And so I have an AI assistant that helps me out, that sends me the articles to read in the morning. It sends me, things to look up. And so it's almost like my own morning daily brief of what's going on in the world, topics that I'm interested, that they know I'm interested in. And so I have my own personal kind of AI assistant. And I believe in leveraging technology to help you become more efficient, not to replace, but to enhance. So I'm a big believer in that.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. What is your favorite book right now or your favorite book of all time?
So I recently read actually an old school book called "As a Man Thinketh," by James Allen, and it's really about the power of your thoughts and how those thoughts reveal your character, change your circumstances, and ultimately control your destiny. It aligns a lot with kind of the old saying, beware your thoughts as they become your actions. Beware your actions as they become your habits. Beware their habits as they become your character. And that all starts with thoughts. I'm a big mind over matter. Like I can do anything. You can kind of will your way. I've been around people that strong mind is a very, very powerful thing. As a Man Thinketh, it's a really old book. I think they kind of revised it and updated it. I found it fascinating, and I'm a big believer. It might be towards my confirmation bias, though, right? Because like I already believed in that, and I was like, oh, and now I'm reading about it. Yeah. So
Yes, that's deep. Good. I
right,
was already thinking it, and then I was reading to think it.
right, right.
Okay, well, I'll be sure to put a link to that in the show notes for everybody.
Okay.
Now it is time for my favorite part of the podcast, which is game
Okay.
time. And in
Okay.
honor of your visit today, we are going to be playing Where in the World. So I'm
Okay.
going to read you short descriptions of a famous city, and you have to guess the city's name.
Wow. Okay.
If you get 3 out of the 5 correct, you get bragging rights that you won game time on the MILMO show. So that's real.
Okay.
It's real big. It's real big in the
Okay.
military, just generally
Yeah.
bragging rights, but this one's really huge. You might want to put it on your LinkedIn. We'll see.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
All right, first one.
Yeah.
This city is known for a giant tower that sparkles at night. It has fresh pastries on every corner and a river that cuts through its romantic heart.
Right. Paris.
That is correct. You got one down.
Okay.
Number 2, where in the world? A place where yellow taxis dominate. There's also skyscrapers, and people argue passionately about pizza
Right.
at 2 in the morning.
New York City.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay. You got 3 more chances to
Okay.
win here. So you got two
Okay.
two under. Okay. Where in the world? Home to red buses, double-decker sightseeing, and a clock tower that
Yeah.
isn't actually named what most people would think it is.
How about London?
That is correct. Okay, now you have bragging rights, but you have to finish
Okay.
strong, Michael. So you
Okay.
can't.
I'm
There's,
giving my
there's
best.
no quitters here at the Milmo
I'll give it my
show. No.
best. Yeah.
Okay. Where in the world? A city where ancient ruins sit right next to scooters zipping around. The pasta is legendary, and there's a famous amphitheater that once hosted epic battles.
Yeah. How about Rome?
That is correct.
Okay.
Last one. Finish strong. Finish strong. Because you want to say that you
Right.
got 100 of them.
100%.
Okay, yeah.
100%. 100%.
Okay, where in the world? Known for its opera house shaped like giant sails, there's beaches full of surfers, and adorable animals that hop around.
Yeah. Down under, Sydney.
Yay, you got it correct. So you have bragging rights that you won game time on the Milmo show.
Awesome. Super
I-
excited.
Yes, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I
I appreciate you playing and being on the show. I want to know if you could tell everybody listening more about what you do in your work.
Right. So I was fortunate enough, we talked earlier, as I was transitioning out of the military, I was looking for an opportunity to continue to empower our service members because they've done a tremendous amount for me over my 30-year career. And I said, how do I give back? And really a big rock for me is empowering service members, our warrior class, to be financially free. Which is a major thing. And I was fortunate enough to talk with Tim Shaw over at Vetri-Fi, starting it up. Really, our mission is focused on setting up service members from day one for financial freedom. And so that includes high yield savings accounts. That includes growing your credit from day one with a secured card. And, that includes steps taken to ensure that service members, when they transition, one, they know and understand about finances. Two, they've grown their credit and they're in a good shape financially to provide them with options. And so at Vetri-Fi, that's kind of everything we're doing. Everyone there on the business development team is just like me. We're all either old soldiers, Marines, Navy. We have a hodgepodge of all veterans that have been through the process. Some like me, 30 years and retired. Others, 4 or 5 years enlisted. Some 4 or 5 years as an officer, 10 years enlisted, and so we have just a range of people that all have similar background. We're all veterans. On the business development side, we know and understand the challenges and problems that our service members face. Because quite frankly, I saw it every day of my life for 30 years, just like the rest of the team did. And by providing them kind of upfront information and tools, whether that's a secured card to start growing your credit, whether that's educating them on a high yield savings account, and then some of our fast follow programs that are coming later. Really, for me, it's a way to give back. It's a way to give back to our service members. It's a way to give back to say, hey, thank you for the career that you let me have, because nothing was possible in the military without our great service members on the front line. And I was like, what could be the most impactful? Making them financially free after they transition from the service. So that's what we're doing at Vetri-Fi. It's great stuff. We're going a million miles an hour, and we're really excited about the things we're doing.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I'll be sure to put a link to that in the show notes for everybody.
Okay.
I appreciate you again being on the show, Michael. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lacey. You have a great day.